Good morning. How we all doing? We about to get into the playroom. And I'm your host, Flav. Here we go. So we got a guest, by the way. So this is going to be exciting. Awesome. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Good morning.
Good morning. Where are you located?
I'm located in Georgia. What about you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, Dallas, Texas.
Okay. Nice. Awesome. First of all, it's a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was actually listening to your podcast when we first spoke, and I was like, let me key in, let me listen to what she's talking about, and there were some really great points out there. So it's really good that everybody has that niche, and at the same time there's still that broad aspect to bring into the reality of the certain types of methods to make it work for everybody.
Oh, well, thank you. And I think you did a review, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, that's neat.
You're welcome. Welcome to the playroom, first of all.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, for the benefit of those who are listening in, it would be great for you to, let them know who you are. I'll leave the floor to you before we get in so that, they can have an idea, because who is she? What is he talking about? So, let's hear it from you.
Oh, okay. So just kind of a background.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just let me know, why you're even doing podcasting. What is the passion? What are the things that you really tackle, so that when they come to your podcast, they'll be like, okay, yeah, this is why you rated or reviewed like this.
Yeah. So my podcast is called Frugalpreneur, Building a Business on a Bootstrap Budget. And it's basically, it kind of covers a bunch of different ways that people can make money online specifically. Just the different tools and resources they need to start a business and operate it on a budget. And then I talk with different people in different areas of online businesses.
Okay.
Whether it's like even podcasting or self-publishing or drop shipping or blogging, just different things that people can do online to make money on a budget, basically.
Nice. And what are the things that you realize that cuts across everybody as far as budgeting and conversions?
As far as as far as what people can, I guess what do you mean specifically?
Okay, specifically, I would say what do you realize that most people need the most when it comes to creating material that converts?
Oh, okay. Well, definitely an email list, and then some sort of lead magnet as well. Whether it be a free PDF or checklist or cheat sheet. There's a bunch of different things you can do to create a free lead magnet, basically, and then to grow your email list that way. And I think that's the main way to get started, really.
Yeah, exactly. Email list is a great platform because we use it a lot, but sometimes we don't really know the power behind it. And that's the thing. I think people are like, oh, your email, okay, that's like your phone number, right? It's like, no, it's more like your ticket. But I feel like also that idea, that awareness is still it's not heard of. People don't really talk about email marketing. It's social media marketing, and it's like, okay, you forgot about the emails. Why?
Yeah, because with social media, which you should be doing that too, but that's like rented land, basically. You never know what's going to happen with Facebook and the others, whether they're even around in 10 years, or even if they are, the algorithm changes, and just the visibility on there. If you post something to your page, your business page anyway, I think only like 2% of people on your page see it, and without boosting it or paying for ads. So yeah, definitely having an email list so that you can market through your emails, and then if something happens to Facebook or whatever social platform, then you're able to continue to reach out to those people.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think when you build that interest, when you build that certainty that, hey, this is what I'm telling you, this is what it does. Okay, does it work? Yes, this is what people say. So it's like a recurring factor that repeats the same message. And when someone sees it, they're like, okay, he knows what he's talking about. She knows what she's talking about. But some people just unsubscribe, you know? So that happens. But at the same time, does that bother you? Does that go in your way of saying things, or does that even help you segment further?
As far as when people unsubscribe?
Yeah.
I think initially, the first few times that happens, you're kind of disappointed. But then I've heard people say to actually view that as a good thing, because that's like segmenting, like you said, your list even more. Or like if someone is unsubscribing, then obviously they're not your ideal customer, basically, or follower. And so, well, and plus fact, subscribers use of it is to have an email marketing platform. So if they unsubscribe, then that's one less person to pay for, I guess. But yeah, so it's them weeding themselves out, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And when they weed themselves out, it's like you're now giving more room to be more explanatory with your detail, and that's also helping with messaging as well. So even with podcasting, how does that go with your email list and business? How does that play together?
As far as like growing an email list with a podcast?
Yes, for you.
Okay. Yeah, so at the beginning of every podcast, I have a call to action. I basically say, if you haven't already, please be sure to get my books for free, the PDF version, by going to thesarahstjohn.com/free. And so it's like a call to action there right at the beginning before the episode starts, so people are going to hear it versus putting it, maybe at the end or whatever. And then it directs them to that website, and then they sign up, put in their email, and it'll give them my 3 books for free. So, I mean, you could do it a few different ways, but that's the way I do it, and I find for me, that's been the best option.
Great. That's great, because I think podcasting for business is a very key factor, because you're able to translate your message, like now personal radio, if that makes sense. Now you're able to say, okay, hey guys, I know you're listening. Thank you so much for listening. You're actually listening to what I just said. And then you feel that emotion, because now we care about the fact that we're presenting this to you. So it's that connection, it's that value, it's that voice. And when you hear someone's voice so many times, you'll be like, yeah, I understand, So it's much cleaner, and the message is sent faster. Yeah.
Yeah, those are good points. Do you do like a lead magnet or call to action with your podcast?
Yes and no, because I feel like these days with my podcast, it's like the We Don't Play podcast has just taken its own form, whereby in the beginning, as you listen to podcasts, you already know what's about to happen, because there's a talk about why podcast is friendly, so you're already keying in to the fact that, okay, yeah, this is a platform I'm using to distribute, and people want to be like, oh, how did you make your podcast over there? Go to Anchor. I'm not trying to say, oh, this is my podcast. Everybody has a podcast. So what makes your podcast, and then a different podcast from somebody else? So when somebody listens to one episode, they like it. They listen to the second one, they like it. They're like, okay, you have 50 more. Wow, where was I? You know, now it's that kind of like catch up. And it's the same thing with music, because I'm into music, and that's how it all started for me. You know, so I started off playing the drums, and then at the age of 6, self-taught, and then started building, and then I started enjoying the art of music. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can record myself. You know, I used to use the Skype overhead, you know, with the 2 little jackpots. So it was like really, really cute. But at the same time, I was like, damn, if I look back, it was good I went through that rigorous training, because now I understand the process of sound. If I listen to something, I want to enjoy the sound. I don't want to be itching, you know? So it's good that I've been able to push that music into the podcast field. And now for me, call to actions are right in the middle. It could be at the end. It could be on the blog. It could be in the email. You know, at some point you're going to hear it rotating, because by the time you're hearing maybe 1 or 2, 3 episodes, you know exactly where to go. Nowadays, I'm like, check out playing.online. And when I say it, people go. But I also look at my stats, and I'm like, I'm actually getting my biggest traffic from direct. So people are literally typing it in. So I'm like, wow, this is great feedback, because I'm very much into brand analytics. So I go into detail when it comes to looking at your Google analytics, matching that to your Pinterest analytics, matching that to your Facebook status, you know, your algorithms. People are like, oh, when's the best time to post? Every day, every time. Because if you now go with what the algorithm is giving you, now you're trying to race the algorithm, and now you're trying to fit in, because now you're not being too creative. Now you're trying to be instantaneous, you know? So now you have to maintain that, and then it's a process. But I'm like, wait, what if I just sit back, do nothing, watch it grow, post something, and then start trickling it down? And then I'm like, wow, people actually respond, because the effect of posting happens after you post, not when you post. And that's something I've been saying a lot for a while now, and I see it, because I'm like, hey, if you ask a question now, you don't expect an answer in 3 minutes, you know, when you post a status. But when you post like 40 pins on Pinterest a day, if you do like 30% of your content, 70% of shareable content, you're creating value. And then by the time you do that times 7, and then you probably not have fun doing 500 in a week, you know, before you know it, now you're attracting an audience that was not even looking at you, but now is, because they're like, who is this person always giving us this good value feeds? Anytime you tap on it, it's you. Anytime you tap on it, it's you. So it's like, okay, now you're actually showing that you care about somebody's feed. So I know we're also going to get into Pinterest, because I've seen you talk about Pinterest a lot. And I really want to understand from your perspective, because I'm new on Pinterest, but my Pinterest has been hitting. Like, I started my Pinterest last month, and now I have about 35,000 monthly viewers, and it is dumbfounded me. I'm like, what happened here? You know, like, and it's scary, but at the same time, it's like, oh. So this is an actual SEO search engine, because I'm very much into SEO, because I do that for my website. I do that for other websites too. So I know exactly what the trends are, and Pinterest gives it to you for free. And then you also have different platforms where you can be able to connect. So for you, how do you build that Pinterest, podcast, email list, social media? What's it like for you? I really want to know.
Yeah, and I recently, well, I mean, I got started with Pinterest a while ago, but it wasn't until recently that I started really trying to optimize it, I guess. I actually did an interview with someone, like a Pinterest expert, and that episode hasn't gone live yet. That'll probably be November, December, probably. And that's going to be like an hour-long episode. That she gave a lot of good. Her name's Catherine Morehouse. If anyone is curious to learn more specifically about Pinterest, but so what I've been doing is that Well, I use a social media like scheduling tool called Crowdfire. And so every time I have a new podcast or blog, I have it set up to automatically like post that to all my social media platforms, but I also have it post to Pinterest too. And there's actually not that many like social media scheduling tools out there that post to Pinterest, so that's the reason I picked that particular one. Um, and so it'll have like so for every episode I have a different like cover art, like that has the person's face and the name of the episode and whatnot. And so I post that to Pinterest, and it'll have like a link to my blog, my associated blog post with that has like the audio player in it and show notes and whatnot. And I find that generates, because like you said, it's more of a search engine than a social media platform. So yeah, when you start thinking of it or looking at it that way, because I think most people view it initially as social media, but then once you realize it's a search engine, you're like, oh, you just got to start like tagging it and, you know, hashtags and keywords, and you have to figure out all that kind of stuff. And then and I've heard like some people even use it for like affiliate marketing. Like they'll post an image of, like, maybe it'll say the best email marketing platform, or, you know, something like that, and then it'll go to either using their affiliate link directly to that website, or it'll go to like their own blog post about that item or product. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of a creative way to use Pinterest.
Oh yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, because once you start tagging the websites or landing pages, those pages react back because it's like a pin. It's like, hey, this is from you, you know. So it kind of helps give Pinterest the allowance to be like, okay, this is what you're looking for. Here you go, you know. And then I don't think there's ever a time you're in Pinterest that you get something that's off your feed because it's so specific.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because I think when you set up a Pinterest, I think you put in like your interests and whatnot. It's been a long time since I set it up, and I don't know if things have changed, but yeah, you pick like what kind of topics you're interested in and whatnot. So yeah, I really like it. I think, I'm trying to remember, I haven't checked lately how many views I get per month, but it's kind of like similar, in the similar range that you had mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
goes up.
Yeah, every month it goes up.
And you wonder where they are, though. Honestly, I wonder, are they actually there?
Oh, like on Pinterest,
like,
or if it's
no, not on Pinterest. More like, because you look at like, if you know your statistics, you know the metrics with the impressions and the reach. But when you look at the engaged audience segment, and you're like, wow, these are like 2,000 people or 500 people. Are they actually there? Because they don't follow you per se.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, because I only have, I think, like 10 followers or something.
Right.
So it's interesting. It's like a lot of people see your stuff, but they don't necessarily follow you usually. And I actually just, in the past week or two, tried my first Pinterest ad for my new book, a free PDF version of it. It's hard to tell. I can't tell if that's doing that well. I mean, I think it's getting a lot of impressions, but then how, like, the analytics they're not as detailed as I'd like them to be.
Right. That's something I noticed too, because when you think about the impressions, the close-ups, they call them the close-ups, and you're like, the saves, people like to save it, they like to see it, they like to enjoy the view when they click on it, but the conversion of actually buying into it or downloading it is different. So
Yeah.
it plays a different role, and I think it's because the only way, and that's something I'm still yet to find out with Pinterest, but I hopefully think that that's a solution, is that if you really want to sell, then you have to connect your website to Pinterest as a tag one, and then two as a product, so that when you now log in, people will see created and saved, but they're gonna see shop. When they click on shop, now they can actually shop out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was using Pinterest back when I was doing drop shipping. I used it because I was doing like baby onesies and stuff for my drop shipping.
That's nice.
And so, like, I'd have a pin for every little onesie and whatnot. Um, and it would lead, yeah, each pin led to that particular item the, in my car or shop. So, yeah, I could do that with the business one or the podcast one, maybe. Interesting. I'll have to look at that.
Okay. Okay. That's a definite one, because I feel like these are areas that people haven't really focused much into, and it's amazing how Pinterest is, because I look at it and I'm like, one day this thing is gonna be 100,000 monthly followers, then 500, then 1 million, and you're like, okay, so what are you guys doing with this information? So I think as the creator, it's literally based on the person who is managing that business Pinterest account, and especially because now with business Pinterest you can put videos, which doesn't happen on normal Pinterest accounts. That's why I think for me, I didn't even like Pinterest in the first place. But when I started doing like keyword research, SEO treatments, I started seeing a lot of Facebook and a lot of Pinterest, and I was like, why is Pinterest here and not LinkedIn and not Twitter? So I was like, okay, there must be something about Pinterest. And then I got in more to see that, okay, there's a larger audience from the women that are on Pinterest more than the men, because those are more of SEO treated words that help them search for things they need on the go. This is the decor I need. This is the kind of outspace living room. This is how to cook chicken. Very basic but fundamental things that help you. And then sometimes Pinterest tells you, hey, somebody tried this pin that you saved, and you're like, what? And I actually see someone making a whole potato bread, and I'm like, what? Somebody actually took time to make this because I saved it. What if I didn't save it? Would that person have cooked it that day? So it makes me feel like, wow, this is actually engaging. But they don't really tell you per se. It just gives that information. And then if you use it to your advantage, like you said, affiliate marketing, or you send them to YouTube, or you send them to your podcast, or you just send them to the same link tree, before you know it, they'll be like, okay, now I'm used to this link tree. Now what else is here? And then it just opens a whole new conversation.
Yeah, I think the possibilities are probably endless. And after interviewing her, and I still need to listen back to it and edit it and put it out, but I'm sure I'll learn even more stuff listening to it the second time. But I was just like, oh man, there's so many things that I'm not doing that I could be doing and should be doing. Yeah, because it's basically like Google, but with images, I guess.
Right, exactly. And the faster it gets to that, the quicker the message is displayed, and then it's retained. Because now you want to save it, you want to download the image, you want to check the website. And some people don't even know that you can click on the pictures. Sometimes some people just don't know that. It's amazing, because no one says click. It's either visit or save. But when you click on visit, yeah, it goes, but people just like to swipe. So if something really catches your attention, you'll probably pause for like 2-3 seconds and be like, okay, let me visit this. And then if it's not something that interests you, you keep going. So it's like, how can I keep that engagement? And one of the things I also realized for my audience is that based on the people listening, based on the type of people listening, and then looking at the analytics, I'm like, these people actually want to live a healthy lifestyle. You know, so you look at some of the episodes I talk about, especially now with your immune system, you know, with everything going on, you have to be strong, you have to be prayerful, you have to be very faith driven to be like, okay, this is what I have to do to stay sane so that I don't go crazy. Because, you know, so Pinterest is also like a safe place, because now when I think about the time spent on social media now, I spend more time on Pinterest, LinkedIn, TikTok more than I would on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, well, and I kind of feel like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, yeah, that they're kind of like boring at this point. Like, I I haven't really. Well, I think I started a TikTok, but then I didn't really get into, like, I would view videos, but I wasn't really doing my own, so I kind of fell off that bandwagon. But as far as like, I've been, yeah, Pinterest and LinkedIn, I think especially if you're in like the business or like the B2B space, I think LinkedIn is really good.
Yeah.
For connections and whatnot. And then I was gonna say with Pinterest, it's like people can go directly to Pinterest and search whatever, but they could also just go to Google and search something, and a lot of times Pinterest will pop up as a result, like, you know, a lot of people use it for recipes or whatever, so like how to cook whatever, and one of the first few results might be a Pinterest result taking you to Pinterest, so it's like, oh wow.
Yeah, speaking of how to, there's something I'm trying to figure out. I don't know how it works, but there's some pages on Pinterest that actually have ingredients like bakeries and all this nice eateries and recipes. Some don't, but some do. And you're like, how did this one get this? You know? And it's interesting because either it's tailored or maybe by email request, I don't know. But that's something I want to tap into for a client, you know, who is, you know, working out a lot of great eateries. Shout out to Dagashi Bakes, and she makes amazing organic bread, cakes, you know, cupcakes, all this amazing dishes. You're like, oh, this is such a memorable cake. You know, when you see a cake on a picture, you're like, wow, that party must have been bomb. You know, that's the kind of image it brings with her brand unique value proposition. So it's amazing to see that, you know, when you look at pins and you're like, ooh, that's another nice cake, but this is a recipe, you're like, oh, this person took time to say this, thank you. Then they're gonna now engage because they'll be like, what else do you know? And then Instagram, if you put all those captions, people are not gonna read that. So people more want to swipe now. They want to hear their reels now. So there's IGTV. Like, my IGTV doesn't get as much gravity pull as my reels or as my stories. And I'm like, this is different, you know? So now you're like, video is taking over. Being on live is taking over. Especially going live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time using a platform called StreamYard is amazing, because I've been able to help churches, also individuals who just want to voice, my family, my mom too, you know, she's also, you know, out there, and she's really using like StreamYard to push, you know, the ministry, and my dad too is doing that. So it's amazing to see how social media now is so personal, like the way it is right now. And I didn't even get a chance to even ask you where you you said Dallas, but like in terms of like your space and your podcast growth, do you see it happening within Dallas, or do you see audiences outside and you're like, okay, maybe I have a stronger pull outside the city than it is in?
Oh yeah, it's all over the place. Like with my analytics, it's primarily United States, but all over the United States, and then let's see, like Canada and Australia and the UK and like Saint Lucia was one, and oh, let's see, Bulgaria, like a bunch of like ones that you wouldn't even think of. So it's really interesting to go in and look at your analytics. But yeah, I mean, if you have a podcast specifically for, like, say you're a realtor or something, and you're a realtor in Dallas or something, then yeah, I assume that most of your listeners will be in the Dallas area. But for something that's not specific to a particular area, you
Yeah,
could reach all over the world.
that's true. That's true. And that's what I also see. And I also notice most of the people who are listening in also from my channel are potentially and active home buyers. And I'm like, okay, what are you guys listening to? And it's great that you hear and you see those kind of things, because you now go into research and you're like, what is this city? What is it talking about? What do they do? So I now go deeper and I use like market research, like I always do if I'm trying to get into information. And I'm like, oh, this actually makes sense. So thank you for listening. And then another moment you're seeing, oh, okay, we have 23 to 27-year-olds, then we have a whole bunch of 35 to 44-year-olds, and you're like, okay, what happened to the kids? But they're in the music. I see them on the TikTok, then on the platforms, on different social media like YouTube. For me, they see me through Shazam. So you're like, okay, everything is audio visual, there's all this shareability. But I think also with Pinterest and podcasting, it's the most inefficient way, like you've mentioned, how to really push out the market. So for people out there listening, I would like you to, let them know what are what are the tips you would give them that you give, in the books? What are the things that strike out the most that help people, like you said, bootstrap their budget and make sure that they get effective results, over a timeline?
Yeah, so I mean, on what business model is, whether it's drop shipping or podcasting or blogging or affiliate marketing or coaching and consulting, because different things, you might need some different types of tools and resources. But for the most part, across the board, obviously, a website. I think a website is important, because I know people who just have a Facebook for their business, but like we talked about earlier, that's rented land, and Facebook could disappear or change their algorithms or remove you or who knows what. And so you need to have a website that you own, and you could do that for free. I mean, well, you have to get a domain, which you can get for $1 at oneandone.com. That's where I get my domains. And then the website you could do a free one through WordPress. You do have to pay for hosting, which is, maybe $3 or $5 a month. And I use SiteGround for that. But there's a million options out there. And then, you could create a logo for free in Canva, or for like $5 and Fiverr, hire someone. And then email marketing, I would say, so after you get your website set up and all that, then email marketing, which the one I just found this one, and I really like it. It's actually free up to like 3,000 subscribers, and then after that it's like, I think like $10 one-time fee per 1,000. And it's called SendFox. And what I like about it, especially for content creators like podcasters, bloggers, and YouTubers, is that you can put in your YouTube link or your blog or podcast RSS feed, and it'll automatically generate a weekly newsletter with your latest podcast episodes, your latest blogs, and whatnot, and send it out. And so it just saves a lot of time, and it's free. So that's what I use. Another good one is MailerLite. They have a free plan. And then there's MailChimp, which has a free plan as well, but I don't like them as much. So there's a few free options out there. And then, let's see, like a social media management and scheduling tool, I use Crowdfire, and there's a few out there like Buffer and whatnot. Crowdfire's $10 a month. Well, they do have a free plan, but if you want to use Pinterest specifically, it's $10 a month to get on the plan that has Pinterest. Um, so so let's see. The website is free. The domain's $1. The logo could be free or $5. Like, email marketing's free. The social media scheduling. I mean, you could start really affordably with just those, few things. And then, go from there. Like, obviously, if you're doing a podcast, then you need podcast hosting and all of that. But yeah, I think any kind of online business for the most part is pretty affordable because you don't have all the overhead costs you generally don't have like a storefront or an office space or anything like that. You run it all from home. And then like if you were doing drop shipping, well then you don't have inventory either. So it's, yeah. Because I started out not in online businesses. I started a photography business initially, but the overhead costs though. I mean, just continuing to manage and maintain and upgrade camera equipment and lighting and just all of that, it just gets expensive. So I switched to an online model.
Oh, an online model.
Well, not for photography, but for just switching business from like a service base to online. So I did like drop shipping, affiliate marketing, all of that.
Okay. So I was gonna ask, would you always need to upgrade your lighting?
For photography, I mean, obviously at a certain point things stop working. So, and then with like cameras, it's like they're always coming out with new ones that are even bigger and better. But the thing is like iPhones do such good photos now, or really any smartphone. And it's like, I don't know. It was like I was doing weddings primarily and portraits, but when I was doing weddings, it was like all these people had their iPhones taking photos as well. And like, are you taking like the group photo,
Yeah.
And they wouldn't know where to look because everyone is behind me with their iPhones taking pictures, and it's like, so then the bridal party would be like looking all over the place, and yeah.
I can imagine the confusion going on. Wow. I feel like with photography, it can go so many ways because I do photography too. I do photography for my church. I do photography for events, for websites, especially with websites. I would highly recommend anybody using this website called compressor.io because picture quality is great and they have lossy formats. You can be able to have at least 10 downloads per day. Not actually 10 downloads per day, 10 a go. So if you actually want to, let's say, batch up your processing, you can do them in tens, and then you can be able to now compress those files into lossy formats, which of course have less KB size, and then when you upload them, it loads faster on your website. So of course that reduces your bounce rate, and that makes your Google search results more effective because you have pictures that convert. So you can be able to do that. And also if you're very location based, you can use geoimgr.com, and that's pretty much geoimager.com, and you can be able to actually locate your business. So if you have a local business, you can actually tag the longitude, latitude, and you can be able to use your alt keys and really get specific with your marketing, and then upload that, and then the image is going to have an EXIF tag, and then from there you can be able to build your market. You say, okay, this is bakery. Before you know it, now anytime somebody's searching for something on Google and you have it on Pinterest, hello, you're gonna be everywhere. So you don't have to use all these tools, but these are just essentials that would help you reach people in less time. And also for me, what I love about photography is that I actually studied it, and back in the day when you had to like actually let them dry, leave them in the dark room, I did that, and I was like, this is so cool. I was so grateful to have experienced that, because now you just take a picture, flash, you have a picture, but you don't know what's going on inside. So for me to look at pictures, some of course were not always great because you're getting used to it. But now I'm like, okay, this is how to compress your images, and you can still use photography. But my photography is not like, oh, I'm booked every week. It's more like, this is what I need to use these photos for, and it serves its purpose. Like last week, there was a baby shower. I was there. This thing turned into a huge thing. If you look at the pictures, you'd be like, what was going on? It's amazing because pictures tell stories. So for me, I really do it as a passion more than, oh, I have to take 50 pictures and download them by tonight. It was more of less pressure and more pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I discovered that I enjoyed taking photos of like animals and landscapes and architecture, but not really people.
What?
But people.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. People are just, I don't know, demanding, I guess, or harder to work with.
Oh, people are harder to work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also that's where the money is, though, is with people, like weddings and portraits and stuff. So,
right.
But yeah, it was kind of a variety of reasons that I stopped doing that, but.
Okay. Because I'm thinking people management is actually hard.
Mm-hmm.
I can, like you just described, the bridal party, you're trying to let everybody focus and everybody's behind you. How do you tell everybody to stop taking pictures when everybody's trying to get the best moment, the best, caption, so it's like, now you think about how to probably either still have the business and then have somebody as good as you or better than you run it, and then now you just manage it and say, okay, this is the pictures that I need, this is the kind of shots I need, so that you're not there all the time. Some people can come in and say, okay, this event is 3 hours, I'll be there 45 minutes before, I'll be there for about 30 minutes in between, I'll be there for probably another 30 to an hour before it ends, and then you capture all the events, and then you go. Because you know that if I'm editing photos, I'm not going to edit 1,000 photos, and then you have to send them, and then when they get it, it's a huge file. They're like, oh, I can't download it. It's now like amazingly different. But now, like you said, with books, I don't know how people distribute, but what I've noticed is like on blurb.com, you can distribute to Amazon and, amazing other platforms. But you also talk about books. So PDFs, how effective are those things when it comes to creating content in context?
Well, I think they're useful because, you could do it as I use it for a lead magnet. Like I had mentioned, like at the beginning of my podcast, I mentioned, hey, go get my books for free, the PDF version anyway. And so I use the digital form, like as a lead magnet, but then I also have the print form on Amazon, if people prefer the print form.
Okay.
Yeah, so I self-publish through Amazon, and it's interesting because my first book was called Frugalpreneur, and I started the podcast to kind of coincide with the book, and it was just going to be some short-lived thing, like 10 episodes. I was basically interviewing the founders of these different tools that I would talk about in the book, like King Sumo and MailerLite and all this stuff. But then I was getting more leverage and traction with the podcast than the book, and enjoying it and making connections. I was like, oh, I should keep going, and so I just kept going with the podcast. But then I wrote a second book called Authorpreneur about the self-publishing process, and then my latest book, Podcastpreneur, is all about podcasting. So it's kind of like, as I would learn something, I would then turn around and basically teach it through a book. Yeah, I call it the Preneur series. So
it's called the what series?
Preneur series.
That's
So
amazing.
it's Frugalpreneur, Authorpreneur, and Podcastpreneur. But with each book, I had no intention of writing another book. But it was like, in the process of writing Frugalpreneur, I learned a lot about self-publishing. So then I was like, you know what? I should write a book about that. And then in the process of all that, I was doing the podcast and whatnot, and I was like, I should write a book about podcasting. But I think 3 books. I think I don't have any plans to write another book at this point, but because it's pretty easy to do it, but as far as getting sales and whatnot, like marketing it is, I don't know. It seems like there's more time and money spent making the book and producing it than I think it's good for a lead magnet. But as far as getting sales, I mean, it's hard to do to get significant sales without a bunch of like a big budget for marketing, basically.
I feel like that's something that people usually talk about, and it's great that you brought this up because I've been able to understand how to get leads. Like within this past 1 month, I was running Facebook ads for at least $5 a day, and then I bumped it up to about $10 a day, and I was able to get about 95 leads. You know, people you don't know, but when you look at the map, you're like, wow, this is where people really need this information. So now you segment again, and you're like, okay, so if I got 50% and 10% here, that means these people don't really know what I'm talking about, or they do, but there's not much information about it. So now you're able to leverage and say, okay, this is how to put this and that together. So with business, you're like, okay, how do you segment all this leads and then convert them into sales? So mostly what people do is you get this kind of leads, you've already attracted them, they've left you with the information, which means, hello, I'm expecting something from you. So that means when you expect something from them, it now shows interest. It shows ability to explain further. And then that way they're like, oh, okay, because anybody who is being sold to, anybody that's in interest of something, has to understand it at least 8 to 12 times. And if you send an email 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, by the time they're seeing that, they're probably going to be like, okay, let me buy this and see what it's about. But before they have bought it, they have to have seen reviews. They must have seen some form of a story, must have seen the product, maybe somebody talking about it. It has to be tangible enough from an audio perspective that shows interest and says, okay, this is something I probably want to try. And then if it's a physical store, okay, I'm going to go there sometime if it's a pop-up shop. But if it's online, you can be like, okay, let's have a virtual conference. Winner, gets it shipped, to their place. They can win a gift card. It's very interactive to the point where it's now like, okay, we don't really care about what we're selling. We are, but what we care more about is how you guys are responding to it, because you don't want to be a noise that is not being heard.
Yeah, so once they're on your email list, of course, deliver whatever the free thing is, like the book or the cheat sheet or whatever, and then have like some kind of email sequence set up to automatically start sending out emails. Mostly helpful emails, or but you can mention your products and services here and there. And then another thing I do actually to get leads is I do giveaways. Like every month it's usually a book. So I'll do a monthly giveaway. And I use King Sumo for that, which is also free. And so people can, sign up to be entered to win whatever your item is. And then you can add those people to your email list. So that's another way of getting leads. And then with King Sumo, there's kind of a viral thing to it where if people share the giveaway on Facebook or whatever, or if they go watch your YouTube video or they go listen to your podcast, you can put a million different like things in there.
Yeah.
It gives them more entries, so their chances of winning are greater. So yeah, I found that that's another good way. The thing though is you want to make sure that whatever you're giving away is relevant to you, your business, your audience, because like if you're giving away an iPhone, for example, everyone and their dog is gonna sign up for that. I mean, everybody. So it doesn't. Right. So it's like you're getting a bunch of people on your list that have no interest in your topic or whatever. But if you're giving away, like I give away books that are relevant to business and marketing and things like that. So they're going to be people who, well, and plus it's like, you know, a $20 item. So if someone's willing to give their email address to potentially win something that's only worth like $20, I mean, they're obviously pretty targeted.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very good one. Yeah. Because now you're thinking like, what I'm telling you is what is actually the standard, but here is this book so that you can get more information. Then when you come to me, be like, okay, what did this page mean? Because now you're the expert. You're the person in that field. They're trying to get there, but with your expertise, they now go through that experience much more smoother than following the rule book and not knowing how to connect the dots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I thought about, like, so I've done, like, .com secrets. I don't know if you're familiar with Russell Brunson.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he has 3 books, .com secrets, expert secrets, and traffic secrets, and I love those books. I've read them, like, twice each. So I give away those, and I give away, like, some books by Pat Flynn, or, I mean, just a bunch of different ones. But I thought, you know, I should also include one of my books with, when I give them that book, when I ship it out, I should start putting in my own book with it. One of them. So,
right.
Like, I just decided to start doing that. So,
how's that been going?
So I think this next. So for the October giveaway, and I don't know when this episode goes live, but we're in October right now. Actually, this is Halloween. We're recording on Halloween.
By the way, it is Halloween, and it's going up today.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay, cool.
It is going up today.
Well, in that case, I guess I could say that if people are interested, to enter the October giveaway. It's at thesarahstjohn.com/giveaway. And that link is the same every month. It's just I change the offer each month. So anyway, for the October giveaway is, let's see, I don't have them in here. Well, they're these like deck of cards, but they're called pod decks. And it's a stack of 5 different sets, like the complete set. And it's basically for podcasters. It has like different questions in it, so like you could use them for icebreaker questions, or like just help, like if you can't think of a question to ask, or you want to ask some like random interesting question.
Yeah.
So it's and I actually interviewed the guy who did that, Travis Brown, who makes them, and now he has an app for it. You can use an app. So you don't have to carry cards around. But anyway, so yeah, he has 5 different stacks of cards that have all these different questions. And when I did the episode with him, I did like this 20 question. Well, it was supposed to be like a fast round, where I'd ask like a question,
like quick
and
fire,
he'd answer quickly. But it was like a whole hour because we'd elaborate and whatever. But yeah, so that's this month's giveaway, is those decks of questions. And so with that, since that's geared for podcasters, I'm going to give away, and I don't mention this on the giveaway, but I'm going to include my book, Podcastpreneur, because it just makes sense. So yeah, so we'll see how that goes. That'll be the first month of giving away a book with it too.
Wow, I feel like I'm excited for you, because now the people that are actually listening to you they'll be like, I want that too. I want to know what she's giving out. And it makes that connection faster because now I'm like, oh, you gave this to me one day, and I thank you for it because it helped me do ABC. So now you've added value to someone's lifestyle or pattern or paradigm shift, and now you're giving them an incentive to be like, okay, there's something else you could actually do, because information is power and it's consistent. You know, we're always going to know something new. I didn't know about SendFox because I use something called Flowdesk, and it does amazingly well. And it's actually even a beta program because not many people know about it. Shout out to Emily. She told me much about it because she was like, hey, and we met on LinkedIn. Actually, we met on a webinar. Let me actually put it that way. We met in a webinar, and I think there were questions going, and it was so interactive. And then I think both of us were going head to head. And then I think she left her email address, and I wasn't able to copy it because time was just running out. And then she found me on LinkedIn, and she's like, hey, I'm sure you probably missed the email, but here you go. And then we went on a podcast, and she talked about Flowdesk. It's as low as, and you have to be an affiliate planner for that too, but if I give you the link, it's as low as $19 for unlimited subscribers. And it's such a great platform that you can actually upload your PDFs into the email. They don't have to leave because it has an integrated platform. And then you have it authenticated. If you have a business email, it now goes into your primary tab, because most times when people send emails through like MailChimp or other platforms, it goes to the promotions or updates. But if you have your website, if you have everything good as far as your branding positioning, you can be able to actually tag it to primary. So now when I get my emails, I'm like, hey, they tell me, hey, I got your email through the primary tab. I'm like, yay, awesome. Because some people, it goes to the junk. Some people, you never see them, and you think that the open rate is low because they're not opening. It's probably because they don't even get it, so they don't even see it. But Flowdesk is such a beautiful platform. It's so visual that even if you have your YouTube video, you'll see the YouTube video on the actual feed. The only thing it doesn't have is the RSS, which is really, really dope. But you can still be able to tag your links, change the canvas, have GIFs. You can be able to put it in there. Enjoy just the platform, because when people start seeing engaging content, they'll be like, ooh, I want to stay on this email list because now I want to see what's going on. And it really helps with engagement, because now it even tells you the last activity. You know how you can see on Facebook last seen 2 hours ago? On this platform, it tells you when they were last seen. It tells you how active they are. It's such a platform. And I'm like, you guys are checking my emails today, and I sent my last email like 3 weeks ago. So it's like they still log in, they still keep the email because there's content there. Like if I want to check the latest song, and this is the only way to get the song, I'll keep on this email. So it's so interactive. I've been using it for about 4 or 5 months now, and I can't even complain. So that's one platform that would be really, I can actually send you the link so you can check it out. Yeah,
I have heard one other person mention the name. They didn't really explain it, and then you mentioned it. I was like, this must be some kind of new software. So I'll have to check that out, because I think you can use more than one email platform for different things. Like the SendFox, for the RSS feed, you could do that, and then the one you're talking about for other stuff. So I might have to get on that bandwagon as well.
Yeah, it's really, really convenient. It's such a beautiful platform, and you're able to literally use everything in the platform and then send a test to yourself. And then the great thing too is that, I don't know if SendFox does this, but you can resend the same email to your people who didn't open it. So within a 24-hour cycle, you can resend that same email, and then it gets a higher reach because now you've sent it twice. So now they're going to have 2 email threads, and it's going to be so much powerful that you're like, wow. And then more people unsubscribe even when you resend it, because it's like, I got it twice, or I didn't even get it at all, and now I'm seeing it and I'm like, oh wow. Somebody I sent an email to, and I realized that emails that go out as appreciation, just checking up on you, no sales, no nothing, no promotions, just regular hello, how are you. Somebody sent me a messenger I've not talked to in about 5-6 years, and he's like, I was about to unsubscribe, but I saw your name and I saw your content and I was like, who's this? Because I was able to gather some of my contacts from back in the day, because I really store emails, you know. So I was like, let me catch up with them, because they don't really know what I'm doing. Everybody's busy, everybody's, you know, doing their thing. So the more, some now subscribe, of course, through advertising, some are already there through organic reach, you know, it's all condensed. But now I'm like, hey, he's like, I really like your emails. And I'm like, wow, thank you. Because some people don't tell you, especially when it's really, really good. When it's like bad, that's when you see everybody commenting. So it's just weird, you know.
Oh wow, yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
Probably after this, I'm gonna check that out. Actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So definitely send me that link. I'm curious.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, you know what? Since we're on it right now, I know we're at the top of the hour, ladies and gentlemen. This is how podcasts go, because we can keep going and going. So I'll ask you, are you busy? Can we keep going? Because I want to show you some Flowdesk before we, you know, wrap it up.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we can keep going.
Okay. So I'm going to send you, because we're going to do this right now, because, you know, we're live, we're recording. So I want to show you Flowdesk. This is Flowdesk.
Oh, interesting. You can screen share on Zoom. Interesting.
Yes. So you can use Flowdesk for your benefits. And I'm actually about to do a course, because I give people courses on branding, business and branding, pro tips. I'm going to show you that too, just to let people know what to do with their business. What is your brand value? Are you a style brand? Are you a lifestyle brand? Are you a disruptive brand? Like, for example, a disruptive brand would be like Airbnb, because they're doing the norm of being, everybody has a house and everything, but they are doing it in form of business that has a different way of modeling. So that's a disruptive brand. You know, a stylish brand, a value brand like Walmart is different from like a style brand like Target, you know. So there are different things, and this is a platform that really gives you information about how to use your data. They have stunning templates, and for example, if you click on something like this, you can attach your PDF. So let's say you have your book here. You can say hello, and then the good thing too is that it personalizes it. So if you have their names, it just automatically tags them in. So now it becomes more personalized. It's so much better, because now when you're calling someone by their name and just saying, hey, sign up, it's more like, hey, Sarah, sign up. You'll be like, oh, okay, thank you for taking the time to, you know, let me know. So it's more personal and it's more rewarding. And this is what it looks like. So this platform, you can be able to change the boards. They have really high quality pictures. So even if you have like compressor.io and you give them a photo book, it's such a magazine type of email platform that you can display images, videos, embed your links. Not really embed per se, because that's for blogging, but you can also tag your hyperlinks and give really, really good value. Because if you look at this, there's the font, there's the layout, there's the link, and there's a block. In the link, they'll usually have either an attachment to a PDF, or you can actually have a link directly to that place you want to send it to. And it's really, really, really nice. And it converts, because once you get statistics like this, it shows you who's reading. Are they reading from their laptops, from their tablets, from their phones? It's so down to the T that you actually appreciate the insights that it gives you, and it helps the workflow even better. So let's say somebody opened your email, and you can let me know, you know, how it goes when I send it to you. And you'll see how, like, if somebody opened the email and they wanted to actually download the book, you know, they'll download the book. You send a thank you message probably after an hour. If they didn't, maybe you can send an announcement and say, hey, check out this podcast about this and this. They'll be like, oh, I didn't know about it. Then they'll come back right here. They'll be like, oh, maybe I should do the quiz. That quiz will take me right back into this segment. So it's so user friendly, and it works like magic. So wow. It's really, really good. What do you think?
Yeah, that's really cool. So so it says try it free. So I guess you can do like a free trial or whatever, but then if you want unlimited subscribers, and it's the 19, like a one-time fee?
Actually, no. It's 30 days for free. You get the free trial, but okay, when I send you the affiliate link, you'll be able to cut down 50% off, because it's usually like $38, which is really, really high up there. But you'll get it for as low as $19 lifetime per month, and you have
Oh, okay, per month.
and you have unlimited subscribers. So if you have 50,000, 2,000, 20,000 subscribers, that $19 does not change.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good deal.
For real, because like you mentioned, when you get to a certain threshold, you have to pay more. So I'm like, how much will I keep paying to grow my audience rather than concentrating on the content and be more specific to my market?
Right, exactly. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Cool.
Exactly. So yeah, this has been a very, very interesting, conversation. And shout out to Podmatch. I'll always say that because whenever I get a chance to reach out, I can do that because this happened randomly. I was on my Facebook groups and I really interact with a lot of people on Facebook, and in those groups somebody was doing a beta program and he was like, hey, sign up. And I don't know, I think he's a founder, and I was like, let me check it out. Maybe we're on the same Facebook group. We're in the same Facebook group, you never know. But I was like, let me tap in. I created my profile, I left it, and then you were the first person that sent me a message, and I was like, this thing actually
really?
works. so I was
Yeah, Alex Sanfilippo.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually did an episode with him talking about Podmatch because I thought it was so cool as well.
Yeah, it saves so much time. It's like specifically marketed to you. And now, before I even get on a podcast with you, I've probably checked out your podcast. I've checked out your website. So I'm more ready for the interview or ready for the talk because now it's so much better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I check that thing every day.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
So what has been your, before we go, what has been your experience? Because I'm still probably a week or two old, in there. But how has your experience been when it comes to relating with people that you've not met? That kind of podcast flow.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's like he tweaks things, on the part where it says match. It's like I used to get matches and now it's not showing me matches anymore. So I just go to find a guest or find a podcast or whatever and do it that way, because sometimes you'll find people in there that would match anyway. But so for some reason the matching part hasn't been working lately for me, but I know it's still in beta, so
yeah. Okay.
But I like how he's added the review section, so when you have a guest or vice versa, you can leave a review on there, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Definitely. And every one of the ones I've talked to, it actually converts into a call, and because this is a second call, and I'm having another one next week with an amazing marketing genius. And I'm excited to see what he's going to talk about, because I'm like, these are people doing their own thing. And when you come into a podcast, it's now where we're able to share ideas. We're not really selling anything, but we're giving you valuable information that you'll be like, oh, I never knew that was existing. And now when you use it, you'll come back because you probably think all these other episodes have valued information. So yes, even one thing you also definitely inspired also for me too is the rating of the podcast, because you did rate this podcast.com / and mine is rate this podcast.com / we don't play. And I was like, this is really, really cool, because now you can rate it. I don't really get much ratings because I've not really voiced it per se, but somebody actually rated me and I was like, oh, I don't know where this person is, but thank you. But how do you make sure your ratings stay up and popping so that somebody knows about it? I know you mentioned pre-rolls, but do you include that in your mailing, or do you have that in vocal forms?
So at the end of every episode I add the the whole rate, review, subscribe thing, and I say that rate this podcast.com / which I think is really cool, because it's so much. Because then people can, so the way that works for people who don't know is that you can then rate the podcast on whatever platform you're using, Apple or whatever, instead of saying, well, I don't even know if there's really a direct link you could say for Apple So it's just nice that it kind of takes all your. I'm on the free plan, but I think if you pay, then you get even more. Like you can add more affiliate. I mean, affiliate podcast directories on there that someone could review it on. But I just like how it's just one simple link, and then they can select where to go, and it like walks the person through where they need to click and whatnot to leave the review.
Okay.
So yeah, so I have that on the end of my episodes, but that's really the only place I say it. I don't really say it like in emails or on the website or anything. I mean, maybe I should. I don't know. I mean, because I've heard people say that just asking for it, people don't usually actually do it. So some people say it's a wasted call to action, but I don't know. I feel like I have my main call to action at the beginning, so I might as well just put that at the end until maybe I have some new call to action to put there.
Right. I mean, it works because it worked for me when I heard it from you. That's what I did. So, I believe other people would do it, but sometimes not everybody wants to voice their opinion, so they just keep watching, like Pinterest.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you did that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's like you never know when someone does leave a rating or review. You don't really know usually like what prompted them to do it. Like, was it because I said go to this link, or
Exactly. Yeah, so we just have to keep working and keep doing it. And also podcasting is new too. So imagine 10 years from now what kind of podcasting we'll do for internet radio. So we just have to keep going because content like this will be big throwbacks, very soon. And we're like, oh, I wish I listened to this in 2020. But thank you so much for joining the Playroom. It's Halloween. It's the end of the weekend. Next week, the country is really going into it, so wishing everybody safety, peace, everything should just work out perfectly, and God knows, so we just leave it into his hands as we look for a brighter future, for everybody.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anytime. Thank you so much for being in the Playroom, and definitely I'm looking forward to being on your show one of these days. So I don't know how I can get on, but after this we can maybe talk about it and see the way forward. But I'll definitely send you the flow desk too.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.
You guys heard it first from the Frugalpreneur. An amazing, amazing, amazing episode. You guys know I don't go this long, but today was just one of those days where you're like, it's a weekend, it's the last day of the month. Happy birthday to everybody who is turning whatever turning age you're turning today. So happy birthday to you. And also shout out to Dave. Happy birthday to Dave as well. Today's his birthday. Everybody's just having a great time. The weather is great. Some people are having some snow. By the end of the day, you know what it is. You know how to get down. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe. Keep your immune system up and running, because right now we're about to rock out the podcast. It's about to be November. I can't wait to meet you guys. There's so much to tell you. There's so much to tell you. Speaking of telling you, check out the beanies that we just dropped. The Rocket beanies are out on playing.online/shop, and check it out because there's so much for you to see out there. If you ain't know, now you know, because everything is happening right here at the We Don't Play podcast show. Thank you for staying tuned. God bless you. Stay safe. Have a wonderful weekend. Peace out.